Hi, good morning, everybody. So welcome to another episode of Marketing Demystified, going beyond the classroom. I'm Harpreet. I am currently heading marketing with Kangaroo Group. I have over 18 years of experience, and it's a privilege to be on this show. I have with me my co-host, Vikesh Dhani. Vikesh, a quick introduction from you would help.
Hi, I'm Vikesh Dhani. I'm a co-founder of Oakbridge Publishing. I have spent about 24 years in publishing and information solutions industry, working with companies and brands like McGraw-Hill, Pearson, and LexisNexis before, driving sales and marketing functions in various capacities.
Sure, thanks a lot. So the reason why we thought of this initiative, I'll give a quick background. As the name suggests, it's Marketing Demystified, going beyond the classroom. All of us, me, Vikesh, and the two eminent guests who are there with us, all of us at some point of time when we did our college in marketing and when we landed into our roles in the industry, we felt that there is a difference. There is a difference in the marketing which we learned when we were in classroom, and then there is a marketing which we actually practice when we get onto the job. And somewhere in the initial years, all of us would have struggled. We felt that there is hand-holding required. We look for mentors. And in the hindsight, we felt that some platform should be there where this gap can be bridged for all those who want to learn the experiences and all those who want to take a leaf out of what are the aspects which are taught in a college or in theory and how are they actually implemented in practical. So that is how when this entire initiative took place. And we have been kind enough, we have been supported by people from industry. I mean, people have been enthusiastic. We have experts from industry as well as academia. So I'll not take much time there. And for today's session, we have guests, Dr. Anita Goel, who is Professor of Marketing with IIM Lucknow, and Sushant Dayal, who is heading marketing for Amway products, a nutrition category. The topic for today is brand positioning. So over to the guests.
Hello, yeah, please
go ahead. No, you go ahead, Dr. Rita. I was just going to say that.
No, please, I request you start, then I will come up. No
All right. So just a brief introduction to summarize. So I'm a sales and marketing professional now, having an experience of almost 14 years in multiple global products, multiple global brands, and multiple organizations. I started with Motorola in 2008, then went to Tata Teleservices, then did my stint at PepsiCo, and currently I'm with Amway, handling the nutrition category. So the longest stint had been with PepsiCo, which was roughly around 8.5 years, where I did roughly 5 roles. In my current role, I'm handling the nutrition category at Amway, and this has been since 2019 of May. And proudly, I've been able to get in a lot of new brand ambassadors. Recently, we've roped in Amitabh Bachchan as a brand ambassador, and we had a campaign coming up. And luckily, yesterday, I mean, we have Mirabai Chanu as a brand ambassador as well. And yesterday, she's won her Olympics. So it's like probably having the right brand ambassador at the right time. So we're getting all that mileage now. So it's been quite an exciting journey. I've launched 8 products last year. This year also 4 products are online. So it's like a very, very exciting journey over here. And in my earlier roles, I've done roles in sales as a sales manager, brand manager, trade marketing, category management now. So I've covered different parts of sales and marketing landscape. And I enjoy working in a team. So I excel in team management, digital marketing, and innovation. So yeah, the topic that we are going to cover today is on positioning. So very, very excited about it. And it's a topic that I really love. So would love to discuss more about it. Over to you, Dr. Anita.
Thank you, Sushant. I am Anita Goel, in the teaching profession from last 27 years. Currently, I am Professor of Marketing at Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow. I think I am very happy to be in this profession. I enjoy it a lot. And related to this profession, I have published in journals, both international and national. I have also edited some guest journals also. And I have edited a book, and that is how my journey is going. So nice be here. And I'm thankful to Harpreet, Vikesh, and also Sushant for joining. So thank you very much.
Sure, thank you so much. Let's start the discussion. So Anita ma'am, it will be first. I will open the forum to you. So since the topic is brand positioning, uh, can you throw some light on what is brand positioning? What are the different aspects? Why is it required? What is the significance? And is there any particular framework which you follow?
A very apparent question, Harpreet. Positioning is something which is a part of a strategy. So once we do segmentation, the first thing which comes is that how you are going to position your brand, because positioning is something with which people connect to your brand. So when you say what is positioning, it is creating an image in the mind of consumers. It is like if you assume that your mind is having or your brain is having number of nodes. So with each node, one brand or one product category goes and get connected. So it is the challenge of the marketer that how marketer takes that position in the mind of consumer, so that whenever the consumer hears the brand, sees the product category, come across something like that, immediately there's a connection with the brand. Because ultimate requirement is that customer will keep buying that brand where the success of the organization lies. So positioning is something you're creating an image in the mind of consumers. However, I always take it as a half definition. The definition completes when we say this positioning is vis-a-vis competition. It is always in relation to something what is there. Now question comes that fine, if I have no competition, I am having a monopoly, then your substitutes will bring as a competition. Okay, you don't have any substitute, but still the question lies, positioning is there in the mind of people. Because somewhere they are perceiving something about your brand, and that is the image in the mind of consumers. So positioning is ultimately how consumers perceive your brand, associate with your brand, create an image in your brand. So that is something I will talk about, the positioning, and if there is something you can elaborate on that. Related to that, the second question you have asked, that what are the frameworks, right? So I think the framework, I put it from the Kefrer, where there are 4 W's, which is a very important base for positioning. We say that you are doing, suppose you have identified a positioning for the brand, right? So now you have done this positioning why. But before why, that why you are doing this positioning, for whom and against whom comes. You are doing for whom? For your customers. Because positioning is targeted towards your target segment. So once you know your customers well, you know why you have developed a product for that target market. From there, you are trying to find out, okay, I have this positioning for my product and brand. But now, is it relevant for my consumers? Is it relevant for that product category? Can I really deliver it in the best possible way? And when I say it is relevant for me or it is relevant for my brand, that means it is against whom? Because you are comparing with the various alternatives into the market. And then you are saying, wow, right, I am giving better than the competition. I am giving something which is relevant for the consumers. Consumers really need this kind of aspect. So this is for whom, against whom, and why. And the when dimension is very interesting. It is not necessarily that you always need this when dimension. But nowadays, you will find that this when dimension has become very important. What this when indicates? When the consumer has to consume the product. A very classical example, Kit Kat. What Kit Kat says? Break banta hai.
Break to banta hai.
Fine. So, right, they say, because, chocolate was not a part of Indian consumption. So what comes into picture is when to consume this chocolate. So they say, okay, whenever you take break, you have a Kit Kat. So you are giving a window to the consumer to consume the product. Why it is important? Something which is not a part of our daily routine or our daily life. And we have introduced something new in our life. We are always in a dilemma when to consume it, where we have to make a space in our daily life so that you'll say, okay, we'll start consuming this. You can relate it very well with the fact that if you have to include a 10-minute walking in your daily routine, sometimes you struggle. When I walk for those 10 minutes, I don't have time. So marketers pushes the product to the brand saying, see, this is the time in the evening or in the afternoon, after waking, before going to sleep, you're going to have this product. So I give this base, Harpreet, and then I think we will move further.
Sure, I think thanks for that framework and very well explained, ma'am. One question which I had when you were saying that you mentioned that in case there is no competition or in case there is no substitution, in any which ways consumer is going to create a brand positioning, which means that either a brand creates a brand positioning by itself. If the brand does not create a brand positioning, then anyways the consumer or the market will create a brand positioning.
Very rightly said, Harpreet. Positioning is always created in the mind of consumers, whether marketer purposefully creates it or not. And there the challenge comes that sometimes it is also happening that what the marketer is saying, consumer is not perceiving in the same way. You are giving a different positioning as a marketer, but consumer has a different positioning in their mind. You are saying my product is a quality product, but people don't perceive it. So people will not have an image of quality for that product or brand in their mind. So that is the challenge comes where the marketer has to sync with the fact that what consumer is perceiving, what consumer is associating with the brand, it is exactly aligned with what marketer is delivering and what marketer is trying to project as a positioning. So
Right.
positioning is always happening in the mind of consumer, and consumer always sees, okay, what marketer is saying, I'm also perceiving same or not. That is how the brand is built or brand is killed.
Yeah, and that is, I think, a very valid point. That is how the brand is synchronized with the consumer. So wherever the perception and what the brand is trying to say are in line, then that's how the brand is made. And if it's the other way around, then the brand will never be able to succeed.
Absolutely. And that is where the marketer has to keep saying that what am I saying, what am I doing, is my consumer perceiving the same way. This is, how the key work keep going, because whenever this disjoint comes, that what the marketer wants to say and consumer is not perceiving that way, the marketer will have problems, as we have discussed just now.
Right. And also, Anita ma'am, so since we are talking on this, and we spoke about against whom, we spoke about creating a perception in the consumer's mind. There are two very important aspects in brand positioning. One is point of parity and one is point of differentiation. So point of parity is you establishing a closeness with other brands so that you appear one of them in the category, that you are catering to that category. So that is point of parity. But you also need to make sure that there is enough point of difference so that you own a clear cut space in your consumer's mind. So these two aspects, it will be great if you can talk about them as well.
Fine. Point of parity, is already existing in the market, because what you have said, I'm adding to that. It means that you are a part of that product category. For example, it is a refrigerator. There is now a certain way we look at the refrigerator. Fine. So there's a certain design, certain size, certain presentation of refrigerator. There's certain use of refrigerator. So what happens the moment you say refrigerator as a product category, something comes in our mind as consumers, as marketers, something, because that category is established. So what happens to meet the minimum basic requirement of a refrigerator? We say it is a POP, point of parity. That means if anyone will see my product, which I'm saying refrigerator, it is considered to be refrigerator. But now, it is like a vanilla product. If everyone gives the same refrigerator into the market, everyone is meeting the minimum POP. It has doors, maybe one or two, it has shelves, it has space, it will cool at certain temperature. That's the minimum basic, we are looking for. As the category matures, evolves, then people have certain requirements from the product category. And maybe this POP may evolve over a period of time. As the technology grows, as economy grows, as living standard grows, and all those kind of things. But this is minimum basic which the customer is looking for to buy. when the consumer is buying a product category. Now the challenge is, if everyone is selling the same refrigerator with the similar features, why consumer will choose the brand my organization is selling? Fine, then we talk about POD. That's a point of differentiation. What is different in my brand? What is different I am offering to the consumer? And now I connect to the 4W framework of why. Is that differentiation relevant for the consumer? Is that differentiation I can offer well to the consumer? Is that differentiation enhanced from the competition? Even if it is relevant, but my competitor is giving the same differentiation, I cannot keep that as positioning, because now my proposition needs to be different from what the competitor is giving.
Yeah.
Fine. So that is why the point of difference says I am different from competition. Still, I am relevant to the consumer. That means I have put a lot of hard work to find out what is missing in the market, which consumers are looking for, important for the consumer, but still not yet offered by anyone into the market. And this POD should not be easily imitable next day, because the moment it is imitable, you will lose your POD. So, it is very challenging that you keep this POD alive, interesting for the consumer, and consumer can keep going with that. I want to add one thing here. It doesn't mean that your PODs don't change. They may change, because 10 years, 5 years, this POD may become POP at some period of time.
Yeah.
Smartphone, very interesting example. Nowadays, if you go and buy even a 2000 rupees phone, there is a possibility of a camera in that. Maybe 5 megapixel, 2 megapixel, 10 megapixel. When we talk about big smartphones, 40 megapixel, something like that, right? So what happens? Camera is still there, which maybe everyone is expecting. But within this camera, by saying Carl Zeiss lens, by saying more megapixel, by saying more clarity, by saying you can click the details of a picture, I'm trying to still create some differentiation in my offer. And that is why the evolution, even with respect to camera and a mobile phone, keeps going. And that keeps giving me a point of difference. Reason here is, point of parity is a camera, it's okay. But it is very, very difficult to keep introducing new PODs as like a new feature, which is a big, big challenging task. You need a lot of research, you need a lot of technology. So what marketers keep doing over a period of time, as the product category matures, within their existing features, they try to see how I am going to project it different. And then the PODs are maintained.
Right. And that brings me to the next thing which came to my mind while you were describing this. Now, point of difference and point of POP, or rather POP and POD, they are played very well when we create different positioning strategies. Now, different positioning strategies could be price-based, could be product feature-based, could be distribution-based. It could be so many things intrinsic to the product. It will be great if you can elaborate on what are the different aspects in a product, or what are the different aspects in a brand through which you can establish different positioning in the mind of consumers.
Okay, so if I say that positioning needs some platform, right? So if I say the platforms of positioning, the very, very basic platform is coming from product. So it can be product attribute, it can be benefit. Nowadays, you will find that there are a lot of positionings which are benefit based, and there is nothing about an attribute in that. A classic example, Lux. If I say Lux has never used any attribute in their selling, in the positioning. For example, if you say Santur, they may still say there is Haldi Chandan, right? Or someone says that, okay, I have this attribute in my product. Every attribute doesn't say that. So Lux is purely on benefit based. But now if I talk about, say, Red Label Tea is a combination of attribute and benefit.
Now, when
they say that,
sorry ma'am, when you say benefit, you mean emotional benefit.
See, it can be benefit
Functional
is
also.
coming from the product utility, But now in the advertisement or in the presentation, you will convert into emotional. When I say benefit here, it is more of a functional benefit. And then you may connect to the emotional part of it. There's a possibility of it, right? Maybe there are some products which are purely emotional, but nowadays I don't see that advertisement a lot. Amul chocolate, a gift for someone you love. I think this is a pure emotional positioning, which you can say, right? So yes, this benefit can be emotional and this benefit can be functional, but in number of cases, you will find it is more functional and maybe a combination of functional and emotional, right? If I say Honitus, let me talk about Honitus here. It says it has mulethi, it has Ayurvedic natural elements, and the benefit is your child will not sleep in the school, or you will not sleep after having Honitus. Now, this is the benefit, but they are selling on the proposition it has all Ayurveda products, all natural products, which are not harmful. And this is the benefit which you are going to take. Because if we take any cough syrup, normal tendencies, we tend to sleep afterwards, right?
Yes.
So what is happening? Sometimes, even when you say just attribute, it may not have a meaning in it. People will not understand that, right? So there was one trend, which is pure benefit based. Second trend now is combination of attribute and benefit. If you remember, they used to sell this fans, and they used to say POP. There is PSPO. If you can recollect, or people can recollect.
Yes, PSPO.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and now the question is, no one knows what is PSPO. No one knows the full form. No one knows technology. They just say it has PSPO. Now, this attribute has no meaning. That is why only attribute-based positioning may not work. Another one example I take here, Dove. Very beautiful example. I think a very apt example also. 1/4 moisturizing cream is the attribute. Now, this is an attribute. Maybe it will convey by itself. This moisturizing cream is giving moisturizer. But then they say as a benefit, it is making your skin smooth. So they have a transition from attribute to benefit. And today they have a combination of both. That is moisturizing cream. And I think any extension of Dove, whether it is shampoo or something else, having the same feature, it is having a moisturizer and is giving a benefit along with that, right? So it can be pure attribute based, but then attribute must be self-explanatory to say that what benefit it is giving. If it is not self-explanatory, you have to have attribute plus benefit. If you don't talk about attribute, then you can have positioning pure on the benefit. A lot of examples are there which talk about benefit only. Like, for example, if I say Colgate, it makes your teeth stronger. But actually, they are not talking about all the ingredients which are going into it. So these are about the three. But then another one which is used is price-based. Babool, paise vasool. So Babool always used to say it's a price-based strategy. We go to some supermarkets nowadays. I think anyone can guess.
Sale.
Big Bazaar. Big Bazaar, if you say, isse sasta aur kahin nahi. So there you are taking a platform of pricing, right? These are very common ones. Otherwise, other common ones which are not on slide, you can have personality. It can be a positioning platform. So if I say personality, if I say thumbs up, it is for adventurous people. If you say Lenovo, for doers. So people who have a kind of confidence and they really want to perform something, so they say Lenovo for doers. So people who have that kind of personality, they will connect with that brand. So it can be personality, it can be distribution also. I will say that distribution, if I connect with Maruti as a good example, and after sale service, you know, in the ads they used to say, they used to show, sorry, even if you are in Leh Ladakh somewhere and you have nothing in the hills, it is the Maruti
Service station.
thing, right? So that is the question which says about the availability of after sale service or the distribution kind of thing. So these are the major ones, and I think marketing can always be creative, always be innovative, to get something on which they will have positioning and can have a mileage over the competition, and even to develop a space in the heart of consumers.
Sure, I think those were great examples. And I must admit that I time traveled back to 2015 when you were live in front of me and you spoke about all these examples in the classroom. So coming back to the topic, I think all of these, so basically when we talk of brand positioning, like you said, it is basically creating that niche in the mind of the consumer, that when they see the product. So for example, when you see a Maruti, you know that it is known for its service. You know that it's a brand which is known for the mileage, or you know that it is known for being robust. You see a Mercedes, you know that there is an aspirational value. You see a Parle-G, you know that this is a go-to biscuit when you are hungry. You see a refrigerator, for example, you are saying. So all these products and all the various methodologies which you have spoken about is basically to create that niche in the mind of a consumer, that he is able to identify the brand from other competition.
Absolutely, Harpreet. And I will just add one thing. Sometimes if the positioning is so strong, there is no need to see the brand. You see the product category and you recall the brand. So I think that marketer succeeds to the best of its efforts, that I see refrigerator and I call a particular brand. I see a car and I call a particular brand of car. So I think that's a wonderful positioning in the mind of people.
There was that's a wonderful example which you quoted recently on LinkedIn. There was a post on McD fries. Okay, so that it was completely blurred, but that typical cone in which they keep the fries, and the fries were there, it was blurred, and they were asked to guess. So very remote, just play of blue, just play of yellow and red, and anybody by seeing that picture could say that that this is from McD.
Agreed. Wonderful example you have given. Yes, true.
Right. Another thing important which you highlighted, and with that I will go to Sushant for that. You spoke about that there is something which a consumer wants, and then there is something which you are good as at a brand. That is the zone which any marketer would want to play in. There is something which a consumer wants, and there is something which a competition is good at. That is something which as a marketer we would not want to go in. Then there is something which a consumer wants and you are also good at and the competition is also good at. But there we are at the risk of being overruled by the consumer in favor of my competition. So basically what we should be positioning as is what the consumer wants and what we are good at. We should be playing in that zone for the brand to be successful.
So Shan will take over, but I will say one thing, you can't have your own if the consumer wants something else. Marketer has to go with that, because I think the basic fundamental of marketing is that consumer is at the center. So you can't say, I want to sell this and I don't bother what consumer wants, because then that is a big mistake and you're not going to succeed at all. Because you understand the customer, that's the starting point of marketing. And then you come back, work on your product, work on your positioning, work on your other strategies.
Right, and which circles back to the point which we started the discussion with you, that you should be looking at consumer insight and you should be making a perception which is aligned with the consumer perception if you want to make the brand.
Absolutely.
So Sushant, since you are in the marketing for 14 years and now you are taking care of Amway as a marketing head for nutrition category, based on this entire discussion which we had around positioning, what is your take and how have you successfully implemented these strategies in Amway? Because Amway is a very distinguished D2C category product or brand. So it will be great to hear your experiences as well.
Sure. And thank you so much. I think for me also, it was like going back to I am Lucknow. I passed out in 2008. So I think I clearly could relate a lot of theory over here and really very relevant examples, Professor Anita, you told. I think what I'll do is I'll further build on what you've already spoken so far. And while I'll also share my experience at Amway, how we've kind of differentiated ourselves, I'll just go back to the basics first. I think that will help in just building onto what Professor Anita has already spoken. So I'll just first start off with talking about what is a brand, right? Before we get into positioning, I think it's important to think what is a brand first. So if you see a brand, right, what are the key associations that come to mind? So just a open forum right now. If you look at Lifebuoy, what are the things, one or two things that come to mind?
Germ
Kill
protection.
germs. Yeah, kill germs.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So there are 3-4 associations mostly in most brands. So for Lifebuoy, it is a soap, it's germ kill, it's rectangular, it's recommended by doctor. So yeah, I mean, that's the image that comes to mind. So for Lifebuoy. Now, this is a brand that I've worked on. So Pepsi, what are the key associations that come to mind when you think about Pepsi?
And I think with Lifebuoy, Sushant, it's also that typical reddish color which
Correct,
they
correct.
started with.
Absolutely, absolutely. So these are all the associations, very strong associations that are created by Lifebuoy because they've created it for a very long period of time. Similarly, for Pepsi, what comes to mind?
It's refreshing.
Refreshing.
Yes, refreshing.
Cola.
Cola,
Cola drink.
absolutely. There are it's been talking about youth, the Youngistan campaign, right? It's about being irreverent. It's about the carbonated soft drink, as you already told, and refreshing comes to mind. So these are top 3-4 associations that come to mind whenever you talk about these established brands. So clearly, what is a brand? A brand is basically a trust mark with few specific associations for many consumers, right? And the sharper the association, the way we could see the association of Lifebuoy and Pepsi, which are very sharp, right? The more who know the association, the stronger the brand. So that's what a brand is. That is what I mean. In a very simple language, that's what a brand is. Now about brand building, it's all about occupying the point that Professor Anita you talked about. That it's about occupying a strong place in a customer's mind when they think about a category. So if you think about colas, if Pepsi comes first, then it's occupied a space in my mind. And then delivering a clearly defined brand promise again and again. It's not about one day I talk about something, one day I talk about something else. It's about consistently defining and consistently building on that brand promise again and again. It could be benefit based, it could be value, it could be experience, right? And a strong brand is basically a company that delivers on its promise, trust, and that eventually leads to business results. Now, and you've already taken us through. This is a theoretical, I would say, definition of brand positioning, right? So I'll not spend much time on this. You've spoken about the very important brand way how you can position your brand, about how you can take care of positioning, right? Now, before I get into further positioning, the brand concept is fundamental of a brand. So how you define a positioning for a brand, it is how you define the concept of a brand. And I'll go back to one of the examples because this is one product that I've launched within Neutralite. And this is a very live example where we've got excellent results. And this was at the time when COVID was hit. In 2020, COVID had come in and we started hearing a lot about immunity at that time. So clearly one product that we thought, and vitamin C is perceived as a product which provides you immunity. So what we did, and this is more, I would say, a live example in my life, and we had created a forecast, we had planned. So with this product that we launched, we had done a forecast of roughly around 40 crores for this business. For this product, we almost exceeded around 70 crores in that year. So this is one product which was a big, I would say, success story for us. But going back to what made this a success is really looking at what the concept was all about. So just a little bit of deep dive. For example, this in any concept, when you go, there has to be a name, headline, the purpose, the core idea, and the branding, which is clearly over here: vitamin C, Neutralite, Natural C, extended release tablets. The second part is looking at the insight, and the insight is very important. And there are multiple ways how you can decode an insight, and I'll read it out for you for this particular example. In this, the insight was that during COVID, my life is becoming more and more hectic in these challenging times, and I feel my overall immunity can get affected. Even if I try to be particular about my diet, I miss out on a few essential fruits and veggies. I need something to help me build my immunity that will last for a longer time. And here is when you provide the benefits of the product. The benefit was that it is a vitamin C tablet with the advantage of extended release mechanism. And this is the mechanism, generally what happens when you consume a tablet, it gets dissolved in your body very quickly. This is a tablet which you consume, it releases very slowly into your body and it stays in your body for more than 8 to 10 hours. And that is what helps you in giving that immunity throughout the day. So that was, so provides all day immunity support, contains, so we talk about in Neutralite, best of farms, best of science, best of farms. So this is what the philosophy we got our own. It's from our organic farms. It has immunity. So these are all the reason to believe, the key benefits that you're growing. And then there is a sign off, right? What is the price, variety? So this is the anatomy of a concept. And this is a very sharp product because it was clearly for solving your immunity needs. So this is just to give you a plain example of what we identified as one of the products and what is the solution that we gave up and what is the result that came in after that. Now, looking at further deep diving, and you can intervene between Harpreet and Professor Anida, but generally, when you talk about benefit, it starts with functional and moves over to emotional, right? And what is functional? Function is what the product does for you, right? So it could be objective, it's about rational, like I told you about the previous example. There, we were talking about the features of the product. It gives 8 hours immunity support, right? It has extended release mechanism. So these are all the technology that we had introduced, right? So those are the functional aspects of it. Coming to the emotional aspect, these are more subjective, intangible. These are the perceptions. It is more difficult to copy once you have an emotional link to it. So, and clear examples are, the brands like Tayari Jeet Ki by Cadbury's, Jagore, right? So all these are emotional, I would say, emotional connects which are there. The
or
functional
Hamara,
benefits
or there's another one, Hamara Bajaj.
Correct.
Mm.
Absolutely. A lot of them, it's about, and it's very difficult to copy an emotional benefit versus functional benefit. You can clearly copy. These are some basic things that as a competition, as you talked about, there are a lot of features, right? In a mobile phone, right? Why do I take Apple? I take Apple because there is an emotional connect. They talk about being different. It's about that logo, right? People buy a Apple MacBook because there's a logo in front. They sit on cafe. So it's how it makes them feel, right? It's not only about the features. And if I compare Apple phone features versus a Samsung or any other phone, OnePlus for that matter, I don't think people buy it because of the features that Apple provides it. It's because of the emotional connect. It's because of what they get beyond the features which are there. So that's, I think, very, very important for any brand to build beyond functional. So
adding to this, you are very right. Even if you talk about emotional, functional needs to be the first, because if the product will not work, people will not gain with the emotional. So very rightly said. Thank you.
And I think I will
With
extend
Apple,
to that.
especially, sorry.
Sorry. I was just
saying.
Okay. You carry on, then I'll complete.
I was just saying with Apple, one key attribute, that I personally observe is prestige. So, a lot of people who buy Apple is for the sheer prestige, that gets associated with the brands.
Right.
I was just saying, adding to what Anita ma'am said. So you start with the product, and going back to the Neutralite slide, Sushant. So you start with the product, you start with the consumer insight, you develop a product, you relate that product with the consumer insight that these are the features I'm offering. Out of the features, this is the functional benefit which a consumer is going to get. Out of these functional benefits, this is the emotional benefit which he is going to derive out of it. And that is how the brand connect happens.
Absolutely. Very well put. In fact, this is another slide which actually really deep dives into how you move from a functional to an emotional benefit. It's all about asking, so what? Why? So for example, this is an example that you can think about, say, for example, the MTR snacks, right? MTR ready to eat product. Now, ready-to-eat meals, the functional benefit that it provides is that it is made, they say that it's made of high quality, it's made of healthy ingredients. Then you ask, so what? It is there, so what? The next thing that comes to mind, yeah, it is easy to prepare meal. It will provide me with the health benefits. Okay, this is the second layer to it. Now, so what? Right? Because so what is that it helps me complete my nutrient intake, right? So that's another level to it, that you're moving from a ladder, from a functional to a little bit of an emotion. And then comes the eventual emotion when you ask even so what once again, right? So it gives me the assurance that I am taking care of my family's nutrient needs. So that's how you get from a functional to an emotional benefit, right? So that's the ladder.
There could be another one here,
Yes.
and I'm just thinking aloud. So RTE meals is ready to eat meal, right? So
Correct.
they are something which are quicker to prepare. So what? So then this will be convenient for me. So what? The emotional benefit is that I will be able to save time so that I can spend that time with my family. So that could be another one.
Absolutely. So there are multiple emotions that you can target, and there are very few emotions which are there, right? From a consumer standpoint, what do you pick up? Which one is more resonating? Which is more related to the brand promise? That is what will really work well for any brand. So, so that's a bit about this. Now, the other important aspect, and if you see, this is a great example of Chupa Chup, which is basically a lollipop, where they're talking about, they're not talking about that it is tasty, it has this thing, it's just written, it's sugar free. One singular benefit, right? And very, very smart, creative, very, very clearly communicated. And this is what will stay with the consumer, because you can talk about multiple benefits, you can talk about multiple attributes of the brand, but what is most important is because of the clutter which is there, right? We see so many ads every day. We see so many communications bombarding with multiple screens in front of us. I have a phone in front of me, then I have a laptop, then there's a TV that is there, right? There is so much communication which is spreading throughout. What is it that registers in a consumer's mind, the perception that a consumer has? That is the most important. And why is it consistent positioning? Why is it important? And very, very, again, another example that I really, and this is something which very strongly resonates with me from a positioning standpoint. So if you look at thumbs up, what is the one word, just one word that comes to mind?
Tufani.
Tufani, thunder, right?
Thunder.
And that's what they have consistently talked about for so many years, right? And that is why it's a very strong brand. Similarly, when you talk about Sprite, what comes to mind? One word or two words?
Clear
Clear.
hai.
Clear.
Steady baat, no bakwas, something like that.
Yeah, clear. Clear is the one word. Clear hai. Very
Right.
straight, very straightforward. Mirinda?
It's the taste and the fizz and the color.
So Mirinda. So I have been with PepsiCo. So Mirinda was one of the brands, and we were talking about Pagalpanti for a very long time, and many consumers correlate to it. But I will tell you why it has got diluted, why you can't remember, because they have diverted. They have not communicated Pagalpanti consistently. They communicated it in 2013-14, and after that they've been doing multiple things. And similarly, if I put Pepsi in my example, it'll be very difficult to associate just one word, because throughout the years they've done Dil Mange More, they've done Oye Bubbly, then something, then Youngistan, then Oh Yes Abhi, then something. So they've been all over the place, Pepsi as a brand. And that is why it's become a little bit of confused positioning that the consumer now has about Pepsi. What does it really stand for, right? And if I talk about now Mountain Dew, that's also a PepsiCo brand. What comes to mind?
Thrill, adventure.
Dar ke aage jeet hai. Adventure, right? They are now the number one brand within PepsiCo because they have stayed consistent for the last 25 years talking about adventure, right? So that is the relevance, that is the importance of being consistent, being at least, because consumer is busy, right? If you can correlate even one word, you have got a big victory. Volvo is about safety.
Safety, yeah.
Yes. Domino's Pizza, how have they disrupted the pizza category.
So
30 minutes
quick
delivery?
and quick.
Yes,
30
30
minutes.
minutes delivery consistently. FedEx was overnight delivery, right?
Yeah.
So these are some great examples, and you can think of multiple brands, and you will identify that whichever brand has been consistent, they are the ones who probably have become the leader, or they've been able to disrupt the market. So that's why it is important. So it's one of the most powerful concept, I would say, in marketing, just owning a word in a prospect's mind, because you burn your way by narrowing your focus. And the word has to be available. No one else need to have a lock on it. It has to be the most effective word. It has to be benefit oriented. It could be benefit oriented. And the fact is that you can't stand for something if you chase after everything. So you have to stand for something, consistently build over it, and that's how you will be able to build your positioning.
Thank you for watching second episode, part 1. The topic which we discussed in this episode is brand positioning. Some of the key takeaways or questions which were answered by the two eminent guests, which was Professor Anita Goel, who is professor of marketing at IIM Lucknow, and Sushant Dayal, who is category head for Nutrilite at Amway, surrounds what is brand positioning, what is the 4W framework given by Kaffer, why, for whom, against whom, and when the consumer consumes a product, does he have the brand in mind? What if you fail to create a brand positioning? Then consumer will create it, which might not be in sync how the brand wants to position it as. Can the brand be killed or made in this entire process? What are the points of parity? What are the points of differentiation? With respect to competition, are you me too? What can you work on? When does a POD become a POP? How can you create different positioning strategies? Is it pricing based on benefit, or is it positioning based on product attribute? How does Amway deal with this entire situation as a brand? How does it position itself? A very detailed example of Nutrilite has been explained in the episode, and how does it work on the brand positioning framework? What are the images associated with the brand? How are these associations used in establishing the brand association? Consistently defining and building and delivering on brand promise, how does that work in favor of brand positioning? How is brand concept used for brand positioning? How do you start from product to functional benefit to emotional benefit to people concept? And how does giving one singular messaging become the most important aspect in establishing brand positioning? And how can brand positioning be confused with? These are some of the aspects which we discussed in this part. The second part will be released soon, wherein we will look at other aspects of brand positioning. If you find this really exciting, stay tuned, subscribe to our channel, and do like, share, and comment for the benefit of wider audience. Thank you so much. See you soon in the next episode of Marketing Demystified.